Now at 10 and streaming on crossroadstoday.com, the days of free beach trips at Lighthouse Beach in Port Lavaca are coming to an end.
A long-standing service is coming to an end. What families need to know before making arrangements.
And after 3 days of flames in Goliad County, new developments on the fight to bring the Sarco Creek fire under control.
We've got your weekend forecast, but I've got even better news than that. Next week is a very good chance we'll get some rain. We'll be talking about it coming up.
And Shiner Battle Ganado tonight in district for both baseball and softball. I'll highlight both games coming up in sports.
You're watching 25 News now at 10. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Shawna Currie.
And I'm Brubaker.
Multiple agencies team up for a drug bust early this morning in Lavaca County. Yoakum Police, the Westside Narcotics Task Force, and multiple other local law enforcement agencies executed a pre-planned drug operation. It ended with 3 arrests, 1 inside the Yoakum city limits and 2 just north of Hallettsville. Authorities say they found multiple types of narcotics and guns.
A major change in how funeral processions move through Victoria.
And what this means for families and funeral homes. 25 News Now weekend anchor Amaya Norman joins us with details. Amaya?
Yes, Shawna and Dawn, thank you. A big change is coming to funeral processions in our city. VPD is putting a stop to funeral escorts, leaving families in funeral homes to make new arrangements. It goes into effect on Monday, April 14th, 2025. The Victoria Police Department will suspend routine funeral escorts that have traditionally been provided to funeral homes. Funeral directors have been officially notified of this suspension, and the department has stated that at this time, no alternative solution is in place. Police say they will assess response needs and consider the possibility of reinstating funeral escorts in the future, as circumstances allow. However, for now, the responsibility falls on funeral homes to inform families of their transportation options on the day of the funeral. Despite the absence of police escorts, families must still obey to all traffic laws while in procession. The department urges caution and patience on the roads, especially for those traveling in funeral processions. Shawna and Dawn, back to you.
Thank you, Amaya. A correction to a story that we brought to you last night. Governor Greg Abbott announces $239 million to expand mental health care in rural Texas, with $40 million of that coming to Victoria County. It will be used to build a new mental health facility, adding up to 60 beds for patients. The goal is to keep those struggling with acute psychiatric illnesses closer to home for treatment instead of sending them to major cities. Now, last night we reported this was going to Hope Ranch. They will not be receiving the funds. This has been awarded to Victoria County, with the county judge and commissioners overseeing the use of it.
A former Victoria Police Chief is a finalist to be the next chief of the Dallas Police Department. Roberto Arredondo is now the Carrollton Police Chief. Arredondo took over as Victoria Police Chief in November 2020 after spending over 23 years with the Dallas Police Department. Chief Arredondo ended his service with the Victoria PD in December 2022.
Victoria College is laying down brick at the new Student Success Center. The 3-story expansion and renovation of the existing Student Center will place student resources under one roof. Students will have convenient access to the library, admissions, advising, financial aid, testing, and more. This is a $2.8 million project that broke ground in January 2024. It's scheduled to be finished by the fall, in time to celebrate Victoria College's 100th anniversary. Lighthouse Beach in Port Lavaca is a popular place for fun in the sun, but the days of enjoying the beach for free will soon be washed away.
And 25 News Now reporter Trenton Whiting joins us now with more details. Trenton?
Shawna, Dawn, thank you. And I hope everyone enjoyed those free trips to the beach, because they are indeed over after Port Lavaca City Council reestablished a fee for entrance. Port Lavaca City Manager Jody Weaver says the toll to enter the Lighthouse Beach has always been around, but the toll closed due to difficulties keeping a manned booth and the COVID-19 pandemic back in 2020. But the city's ability to bring in an automated toll booth, the entry fees will now be reinforced. Yoakum resident Sasha Brown and her family drive to Lighthouse Beach often and say the toll is a small price to pay in exchange for the valuable family time.
I really don't think that the toll bothers me, because for my kids to enjoy their day and me to relax, it doesn't bother me at all.
Weaver says the automated toll gate should be operational by mid to late summer. All funds collected will go toward maintaining Lighthouse Beach. The prices will be $5 for an all-day pass and $25 for a full year. Shawna, Don, back to you.
Trenton, thank you. And this brings us to our viewer poll tonight. The question is, will the Lighthouse Beach toll keep you from visiting the beach? Yes or no? And 68% of our viewers, that's just about the way it was at 69%. 68% of our voters say, yes, it will keep you from visiting the Lighthouse Beach. Well, we want to hear from you. Visit crossroadstoday.com/vote to take part, and we thank you for voting.
All right, well, this is the last free weekend before a lot of the kids go back to school from spring break. So let's check on our weekend weather.
Let's go to Mac Pettis with the first look at the forecast. So I know those spring breakers would like one more nice weekend before they go back to school, college, what have you.
And you know me, I'm ready for the party too. So it's going to be a great weekend for anything you have planned outdoors, spring breakers included. And it's perfect timing because next week things are going to change for us. Our weather pattern, which was dry and hot and almost drought, is finally changing. We got a shot at getting some really good rain coming in. We'll be talking about that and giving you all the 7-day forecast coming up a little bit later on. Back to you.
The Sarco Creek fire in Goliad County is now 100% contained. The fire started Wednesday evening about 10 miles northwest of Refugio. Crews from Goliad, Refugio, and B counties, along with the Texas Department of Emergency Management and the Texas Forest Service, have been on site. The fire has burned 200 acres.
A federal judge in San Antonio ruled the state of Texas ID requirements for mail ballot applications are unconstitutional. The judge ruled the law discriminates against voters with disabilities. A Texas Senate panel heard testimony on a bill that would require voters to prove their citizenship. The bill would apply to new and existing voters who did not provide proof of citizenship when they registered. Voters who cannot prove their citizenship will only be eligible to vote in federal elections except for the presidential race. The impeachment trial of Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton cost the state $5.1 million. A state auditor report finds the trial cost about 20% more than previous estimates of the cost of the effort to remove Paxton from office. The cost was largely to pay for lawyers hired by House leaders to prosecute Paxton in a Senate trial that ended in his acquittal. The House, which impeached Paxton over charges he accepted bribes and abused the authority of his office, accounted for nearly 87% of the state's overall tab.
A flurry of bills in the Texas legislature aims to restrict the flow of abortion pills into the state and abortion seekers traveling out of the state. To read the full Texas Tribune article, visit crossroadstoday.com.
A man seriously injured in a crash on Interstate 35 that killed 5 people earlier this month filed a $100 million civil lawsuit. Nathan Jonard filed suit against Amazon Logistics, ZBN Transport Company, and Solomon Weldekel Araya, the driver who police say caused the crash. 5 people were killed and 11 others injured in the March 13th crash, which happened on I-35 in Austin. The crash involved 18 vehicles. Jonard is suing to cover medical bills, lost wages, and lost property, as well as compensation for pain and suffering.
For some time this morning, no flights were coming into Austin from Dallas or Houston. The Federal Aviation Administration issued a ground stop.
The reason for all this? A shortage of air traffic controllers. Frustrated travelers had these thoughts.
He comes back saying there's a delay to get landed in Austin due to a staffing issue.
Airline passengers arriving from Dallas and Houston found it a welcome relief to be on the ground in Austin Friday afternoon. The Federal Aviation Administration issued a ground stop late Friday morning for flights arriving from both areas due to a lack of air traffic controllers. 2 people coming in from Houston say they have never been delayed this long.
You're getting text messages from the airline saying, oh, we're delayed 20 minutes, delayed 35 minutes, delayed 45 minutes.
They weren't the only ones to experience the long delays.
Boarded the plane and then we're told that there was not enough staffing at the air traffic control in Austin, so that we were just going to have to wait until we got clearance. So we were there sitting on the tarmac for an hour, hour and a half.
Austin Councilmember Vanessa Fuentes says this is not the first time there's been an issue at Austin Bergstrom International Airport related to staffing. There have been 6 near-miss collisions in the last 2.5 years. Fuentes says today's ground stop is a clear indication more needs to be done.
This is a matter of life and death. We shouldn't have to wait until there is an emergency situation as a result of not having adequately staffed.
Passengers affected by this ordeal share Fuentes' feelings.
It's more frustrating just that, we're having to sit there and wait because there's not enough staffing at the time.
Fuentes says staffing at the FAA has been an ongoing issue for years, not just under the Trump administration. She says now is not the time to point fingers, but to take action since the city can only do so much.
I believe it should be the Trump administration's #1 priority among many is ensuring the safety of our travelers.
There's another chance to catch the latest episode of Let's Grow Texas Ag. It will air Sunday morning at 10 on KVCT Fox 19. We are also streaming on Zeem, Z-E-A-M. So don't forget to tune in to Let's Grow Texas Ag.
And remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Crossroads Today. Hit the like button and click the notification bell. You can watch all of our news as well as previous episodes of Let's Grow Texas Ag and also our weekend community Crossroads on YouTube.
That's right.
Well, stay with us. Coming up on 25 News Now at 10, President Trump shakes up student loan management. But who's in charge now and what does it mean for borrowers?
Also ahead, a judge claims the DOJ ignored orders, raising the stakes in a contentious immigration case.
Here's a look at what you can expect on Community Crossroads. We hear from a doctor from DTAR, we learn about Jaguar Day, a scholarship opportunity, and we hear from students from Howell Middle School.
Here comes the baker with his tray like always, the same old bread and rolls to sell. Every morning just the same, since the morning that we came to this pauper.
As President Donald Trump looks to dismantle the Department of Education, today he tasked the Small Business Administration to take action regarding student loans.
Just a day after President Trump signed an executive order beginning the process of dismantling the Department of Education,
we're going to be returning education very simply back to the states where it belongs.
The president made another big announcement.
I've decided that the SBA, the Small Business Administration, headed by Kelly Loeffler, is a terrific person, will handle all of the student loan portfolio. We have a portfolio that's very large, lots of loans.
Questions remain about how those student loans will be managed. According to 2 sources, the student loan portfolio totals a staggering $1.8 trillion in debt, and an estimated 40% of loans are past due. And the Small Business Administration announcing it is slashing staff. Friday, SBA Chief Kelly Loeffler announced around 2,700 positions will be cut, or 43% of staff.
Education is a right. That is why we have to fight.
Students rallied outside the Department of Education following Trump's executive order.
It's the Department of Education, but what will it be tomorrow? Like, what is the limit to where Trump and Elon will go? How much will they cut? How many lives will they be willing to sacrifice for their own profit and power?
I'm Sherelle Hubbard reporting.
Now, shutting down the Department of Education requires an act of Congress. A Thursday's order directed Education Secretary Linda McMahon to take steps towards the department's closure.
Trump made assurances that children with disabilities will not be impacted. He's announced that special needs funding efforts for students will be overseen by Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. going forward.
The Department of Homeland Security is cutting staff at its civil rights and oversight offices, including those handling immigration complaints and citizenship processing. These offices serve as internal watchdogs, but the Trump administration views them as obstacles to enforcement. Around 300 employees could lose their jobs if they cannot find new roles within the agency. The move is expected to face legal challenges. Today, the Justice Department has a deadline in a case prompting concern about the U.S. checks and balances system. A judge wants the DOJ to submit a sworn statement regarding potential use of the state's secret privilege. Now, that protects sensitive national security information from disclosure in civil cases.
Yeah, but today's deadline is not what makes the case so explosive. Amy Kiley reports the judge is expressing concern the DOJ might be disobeying his orders.
We are starting to really get close to the line of open defiance.
An escalating clash between a judge and the Justice Department is sparking fears of a potential constitutional crisis. U.S. District Judge James Boasberg says the DOJ defied him once and potentially twice in an immigration case. He says it, quote, evaded its obligations yesterday to provide information about possibly also disobeying his orders last weekend.
No thank you, Your Honor, which DOJ has now been saying for 3 consecutive days. That's not a menu option.
The case involves whether immigration officials can use a wartime law to deport people without hearings. Records show Boasberg gave oral and written restraining orders March 15th, blocking deportation flights related to the case. But the White House says 3 such flights took off that same night.
The top layer here is the dispute over, is this use of the Alien Enemies Act constitutional or not? The middle layer is, did DOJ defy the judge this past weekend? The third layer is, DOJ is refusing to give the judge he needs to resolve the airplane question on level 2.
Now Boasberg is giving the DOJ until Tuesday to prove it didn't defy his restraining orders.
I don't think we've quite hit constitutional crisis point, but I do think we are in definite constitutional showdown territory right now.
I'm Amy Kiley reporting.
Well, good evening, everyone. We're looking at 58 degrees right now, nice and cool, but you'll notice the big difference tonight. The humidity has rolled back in, and it went up from 30% this afternoon to about 60% right now. Our high was 76. Tomorrow will be about 83. Looking good for the weekend, even looking better next week when we get a chance of rain. All that coming up in a moment.
Get ready for the madness. Think you know college hoops? Prove it. Enter the Final Four Frenzy presented by Coastal Bend College. Put your bracket up against sports director Max Williams and weekend sports reporter Ray Robinson. Dribble on over to crossroadstoday.com to enter on the contest page. Win it all and score a family 4-pack with a hotel stay and a round of golf for 2 at Moody Gardens in Galveston. The Final Four Frenzy presented by Coastal Bend College. Brackets lock soon. Enter now.
Well, the weekend is here and things are looking pretty good across the state of Texas. Some kids are still on spring break. If you happen to be on spring break, but even if you're not on spring break, it's a great weekend. Lots of sunshine over the state, very few clouds. We are, however, getting that south wind that's returning back the humidity into the area, and that helps out. I'll tell you why. It's less of a fire threat. But it's still, shall we say, on the drought side. Now look at this. These temperatures you see here is the percent of humidity. So we're back up to normal 70, 80% humidities. Above 65 would be kind of where we're normally at. But if you go farther out West Texas, they continue to be in the 20% range. So they're still in fire danger. We've got a little bit of a break. Our temperatures tomorrow getting up to about 82 and then 83 on Sunday. Only problem over the weekend is the afternoon winds. We'll be picking up to 25 miles an hour. So it'll be a little blustery out there, but not bad at all. If you're going to be outdoors, it's going to be terrific. Watch how the winds actually die down overnight. There you go. And then in the afternoon, boom, they kick up. So we are looking for rather breezy conditions tomorrow afternoon. So keep that in mind if you need to be doing anything outdoors. Still, I would be very cautious with anything that looks like a flame. I would avoid it right now. Okay, so now what about the rest of the forecast? Well, it gets even better. Now, while we have a little front up here in North Texas, it's actually going to drift down here, but it's got very little oomph in it. It's going to get down here and maybe destabilize the atmosphere enough on Sunday night, Monday morning to give us a little shower or two. Nothing exciting. The exciting stuff is later in the week. It's not that front. It is going to be another system that I'll show you in a moment. Now, tonight's low getting down to 59, not particularly cold, but actually milder than it was the last couple of mornings when we were getting down into the 30s. And tomorrow, yep, beautiful day, looking at 83 in Houston, 87 San Antonio, and still in the 90s down along the Rio Grande. Now, this storm, no problem. That storm, no problem. In fact, what you see here is that little front I was telling you about finally gets close enough to give us a few little showers, and then it sort of falls apart. But then, down about here, we've got an area of low pressure developing in the Pacific, going to be crawling, rolling around the northern Mexico. And by the time we get to Wednesday of next week, you see it developing. Look at what happens here. Boom. That's awesome right there. That right there, awesomeness all over the place. Because on Thursday of next week, we've got a best chance we've had for getting any rain around here in a long time. In fact, as we go all the way into Friday, we still have that potential. So we're in the 50% range here, and that's a real good sign. We really need the rain. Somebody else may be on spring break, but I'm sorry, we need the moisture. Pretty good looking day, partly cloudy in the afternoon, getting up to 79 in Port Lavaca. Just remember that the winds out of the southeast, it picks up in the afternoon hours, all right? And then in Cuero, you'll have pretty much the same pattern with an afternoon wind in the 25-mile-an-hour range, but getting up to about 82. So your 7-day forecast, not bad, but breezy, a little sprinkle or two possible. Tuesday's quiet. Look at that. 50% chance on Thursday and Friday of next week to getting some much beneficial rain. And right now, I mean, it's a little far out, but we could see more than an inch of rain in this storm complex as it develops over our area. So keep your fingers crossed on that. And that is your 7-day forecast. Have a great weekend. Reminding everybody we do have a QR code. We'd love for you to scan that. Put Crossroads Today in your phone. That way you can find out everything that's going on in the sports world with Max.
That's right, Mac. After the break, we're going to talk about some breaking news earlier today with UHV Golf. I'll tell you what that is coming up in sports. All right, Crossroads. Earlier today, we had some breaking news at the University of Houston Victoria, where men's and women's golf head coach Garrett Anair announced he is stepping down effective March 21st. Under Adair's guidance, the men's team finished a top 10 finish at the NAI National Golf Championships and 4 consecutive Red River Athletic Conference Championships as well. Then also the women's team is conference champs in 2021, advancing to the NAI National Championships. Assistant coach Taylor Dedman will be the interim head coach for the time being. Now, we had some top-level softball action here tonight where we had a top-ranked battle in two-way between the Shiner Lady Comanches and the Ganado Madians. And both these teams looking to get a statement win, take control of district play. This game started off Shiner's way. They scored 6 runs in the first inning, but Ganado, they would fight right back. Had a 2-run shot by Kaylee Benavidez, and the Maidens would get right back into it. It would get to 8-7, but then Shiner would pile up a lot of runs there towards the end, and they would win this one 14-7. And both of these teams are not going to be back in action there next week. Over to some 5A softball action where Lamar Consolidated Mustangs travel to the U Sports Complex here in Victoria to face the East Titans, and both teams heading in this game were undefeated in district play of 4-0, but the Titans did not get enough offense because when I arrived at the ballpark, it was 3-0 already Lamar, and they kept getting the runs going, and they won this game 19-2. And now for East, they're going to have to regroup because they're going to be traveling to Fort Bend Kepner there next Tuesday night. Now going back there to Shiner Ganado, but over in the baseball area, Ganado, both these teams also trying to get a big-time win in district play, but both teams heading in different directions. Ganado heading in was a 4-7-1. Shiner there was at 10-3. This game was a defensive battle, not like the softball game. And again, this one ended up being 3-1. Shiner there would get the win. And now for the Comanches in the baseball field, they're 11-3, and they're going to be back in action there at Latonia there next Tuesday night. Over to some soccer action. The Bay City women's soccer team faced the Brassport Exporters earlier today, and they got the win. They won 5-1 over that one, and the Lady Cats will now face the Salado Eagles there in the second round of the playoffs there next week. Over to the men's team, they lost though 6-2 over the Willow Ridge Eagles, and now for the Bay City Black Cats, their season comes to a close after finishing first place in district. Probably a tough way to end their season for the Bay City Black Cats. And finally, even though I mentioned March Madness, we've talked about it a lot, you still have a chance to win our prize competing in our Final Four Frenzy 16-team and 4-team bracket sponsored by Coastal Bend College. However, you will have to wait until March 24th to compete in our 16-team bracket and April 1st for our 4-team bracket. But when it opens up, though, go to www.crossroadstoday.com/entertainment/Final Four Frenzy, then create an account and press play now. And the winner will get a family 4-pack to Moody Gardens, which includes tickets to an aquarium, rainforest pyramids, 3D and 4D audience recognition theaters, 1-night hotel stay, and 2 rounds of golf. And probably heard this news here earlier today. Legendary boxer, 2-time there heavyweight champion there, George Foreman passed away there at the age of 76. Probably know him again with all the boxing careers that he had, or the Foreman grills you've probably seen at all the commercials. And again, just tough to see, like I said, passed away at the age of 76. That's going to do it here in sports. Don and Shawna, back to you.
Max, thank you, and stay with us. Coming up on 25 News now at 10, we'll take a last look at your weather. Plus, well, different ways to find out how a country can be called the happiest. One nation claims the top spot again. The U.S. lands, well, the answer might surprise you.
I think we finally nailed it. We're here to unveil your own team signature.
Well, Finland got the top spot again for the happiest country for the 8th year in a row now. Nearby nations Denmark, Iceland, Sweden, and the Netherlands rounded out the top 5. The biggest news for us is the U.S. reached its lowest spot since this report began 13 years ago. The USA clocked in at number 24. The report's founding editor says one way to achieve happiness is social in nature. Expect goodness out of people around you, and you'll be surprised how often you get it. The availability of healthcare, education, and social support also play big roles.
Dublin's Molly Malone statue is a tourist favorite, but one musician says it's time for a hands-off policy. Singer-songwriter Tilly Cripwell launched #LeaveMollyMAlone after years of watching tourists grope the bronze fishmonger so much that her chest is a different color. She's calling for the statue to be raised and restored, and even rewrote the classic song, imagining Molly's ghost begging for personal space. I'd like to go on the record right now, but we were in Dublin last summer. Neither my wife or myself touched that statue.
Did you see it?
Yeah, did you see it?
No, we did not. I mean, we went through different parts of Dublin on the coach, but we did not. No, not us.
I didn't know that was a sport in Ireland there.
Yeah. Oh no! Favorite sport in Ireland, by the way, hurling. Hurling, yes.
Yeah, after you come out of the bar, you're hurling. You know.
Can we take part in our favorite sport this weekend with the weather?
Favorite sport is?
Any of them.
No. Hey, how about cutting the grass? There's one.
Is that a sport? Really?
No, believe me,
okay.
it'll be an Olympic sport before we know it. Hey, good weekend coming up, folks. Enjoy it. We're getting up to about 82. It'll be a little breezy, but not too bad. And the best news of all is that middle of next week, we have a real good chance for rain.
All right. Well, it's Final Four season, and being a basketball coach takes patience, strategy, and quick thinking. But for Veterans Memorial Boys basketball head coach Steve Perez up in San Antonio, that's just warm-up. At home, he's not just a coach, he's a full-time girl dad to 7 daughters. Between coaching the Patriots and keeping up with a house full of Barbie dolls and bedtime stories, life is nonstop. But his wife Cynthia says he still gives 110% at home. And when the schedules align, you'll find all 7 girls in the front row cheering for dad. But through the noise and the late nights, one thing is for sure, his girls think he's the best coach of all.
Oh, how sweet. How
very,
sweet.
very sweet. Well, thank you for joining us tonight.
Join us this weekend, 25 News Now. Jimmy Kimmel Live starts now.